Tonight, tear gas deployed after another clash in Chicago during President Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration. Homeland Security officials say an SUV carrying an undocumented immigrant trying to flee arrest.
It started with a post, just a picture, a smirking face, 2 gold chains, and a caption that read, "They said I wouldn't make it past summer." It got 100,000 likes before midnight, and by morning, the photo was gone, replaced by a flood of tributes and crying emojis. His name was Tito Ree, a Chicago influencer known for flaunting his street past, his money, and his enemies. What no one knew then was that a simple emoji, a laugh at the wrong time, had already sealed his fate. What followed wasn't just a local tragedy, it was part of a global pattern, a disturbing new reality where fame, pride, and the digital world collided with old codes of blood, silence, and power. Tonight, we look at 9 influencers who disrespected the wrong people and paid the ultimate price. The story begins in Venezuela, in the crowded heart of Caracas, where Gabriel Sarmiento, better known as Unox, rose from obscurity with his chaotic humor and fearless mouth. At first, he was just another TikTok comedian, dancing, mocking corrupt politicians, joking about police bribes. But something shifted when he began talking about a new group rising in the slums. Tren del Sol, a network of ex-soldiers, smugglers, and traffickers controlling entire city blocks. Gabriel started posting videos calling them ghosts with guns and cowards in masks. The clips went viral, shared millions of times, and with each upload, his tone hardened. He claimed to have proof that the gang's money was flowing into government pockets. Soon, warnings flooded his inbox. Anonymous messages told him to stop. His location was leaked. His family moved twice, but he refused to hide. On one live stream, watched by nearly 500,000 people, he laughed and said, "They don't own the streets, we do." Hours later, his final broadcast would begin. The screen was shaky, the comments scrolling too fast to read, and in the background, a car door slammed. The camera fell, and the screen went black. Authorities never found the full footage, but they found his phone. Still recording, the red light blinking in the dark.
Recientemente se ha reportado en las redes sociales y medios de comunicación el fallecimiento de una influencer o creadora de contenido cuyo nombre.
A few months later, across the Caribbean in New York, Ariela Mejia, known online as La Langosta, had built her empire on beauty tutorials, champagne photos, and flirtations with the rap scene. She was young, glamorous, and dangerously naive. Her rise was meteoric, her downfall quicker. At parties, she brushed shoulders with people who never posted their faces, men with diamond watches and hollow eyes. Rumors swirled that she had dated a rapper once tied to a violent crew, and when that crew fractured, so did her protection. She posted cryptic messages. The people who smile at you can still be loading the gun. Days later, she was gone. Her car was found on the highway's shoulder, untouched but lifeless inside. Police called it a robbery. Her followers knew better. Screenshots of her last story spread fast. A short clip of her laughing in a nightclub, a hand in frame holding a red cup, a voice in the background saying, "You talk too much." It became a digital ghost story. The influencer who crossed a line she didn't understand.
Rammed a Border Patrol vehicle. Then the Border Patrol vehicle crashed into the SUV to stop it. Chicago police say a hostile crowd started throwing objects at federal agents who then deployed tear gas. 13 officers were exposed to it.
Back in Chicago, Tito Ree's story unfolded like a slow-motion tragedy. He had grown up in the projects, escaped through rap and skits, and used his page to mock rivals, tagging them in videos, throwing laughing emojis under memorial posts. In his mind, it was just content. To his rivals, it was an act of war. In the world of digital street culture, words and emojis carried real consequences. "You can die over a comment," one detective said. And Tito did. His death was broadcast live by accident. Fans watching his stream saw the flash of lights, the screech of tires, then silence. What made his story haunting wasn't just the violence, it was how quickly the internet moved on. Within hours, his name became a hashtag, then a meme. The line between fame and death had blurred completely.
I put both hands together as I pray for the first day. Praying to God I get to see another birthday. Cause shit is crazy, man. This shit I've been through lately, man. This shit I go through daily. It can't make me, but it can break me, man.
In the same city, but years earlier, there was Shaquan Thomas, known to millions as Young Pappy. His lyrics predicted his own end, every bar dripping with defiance. He called out rival gangs by name, mocked the dead, and filmed music videos on streets marked by blood. He wasn't afraid, or maybe he was. but couldn't stop. Every upload got him closer to fame and closer to death. His fans said he was manifesting destiny. His enemies said he was writing his obituary. When he finally fell, his last song shot to the top of local charts. It was almost prophetic, a ballad to violence and fame, the same twin gods that ruled his short life. His story became a template for a generation. How the camera could turn survival into spectacle. How death became a kind of release.
Police have made a major breakthrough, seizing $260 million worth of drugs and arresting 3 men alleged to be controlled by a Southeast Asian crime syndicate that's made its way to Australian shores.
Across the ocean in Sydney, Troy Williams, or Candyman 2.0, had made a fortune selling energy drinks, luxury parties, and wild excess. His online persona was pure hedonism. Private jets, silk robes, women by the pool. But beneath the glitter, there were shadows. Local street crews claimed he owed them money, protection fees, favors, or worse. Troy mocked them online, posting selfies with captions like, "Fear no man who hides behind a mask." It was a mistake. His mansion was raided weeks later, not by police, but by masked teens who filmed themselves stealing cars and jewelry. They posted it with his own slogan, "Stay fearless." The video went viral, reversing his brand overnight. He tried to fight back, offering cash rewards, confronting people on live streams, but he couldn't win. The internet that once adored him now mocked his downfall. He left social media soon after, selling his company and disappearing. Some say he lives quietly abroad. Others say he never left Sydney, just learned to live off the grid, a ghost of his own empire.
Tengo 25 años de antigüedad en el Poder Judicial de la Federación, conozco las entrañas de la impartición de justicia. En el modelo anterior de elección y de selección de personas juzgadoras, sin duda, soy la mejor.
Then there was Marisol Castañeda, known online as La Niña de Laredo, a journalist turned anonymous whistleblower. She started as a local reporter covering corruption in the border towns. But when the threats became too real, she shifted to social media, creating burner accounts to expose cartel movements. Her posts saved lives, warning people to avoid certain highways, exposing fake checkpoints, identifying suspicious vehicles. But she was playing with fire. The networks she angered didn't tolerate exposure. One morning, she was found in her apartment, her computer smashed, her phone gone. On her desk sat a single keyboard, its keys stained and broken, a cruel symbol of silence. Her followers mourned her as a hero. Others called her reckless, but everyone agreed. She was proof that the truth can cost more than life itself. Not long after, a username began trending, Rasca Tripas, an anonymous blogger claiming to have taken up Marisol's mission. He used encrypted channels, voice filters, and dark web leaks to continue her work. But the enemies she made had long memories. Within weeks, a new post surfaced on the deep web, a video too disturbing for most to watch, showing a masked figure warning, "There will be no more typing." The blog went dark the next day. The myth of Rascatripas spread like wildfire. Some said it was multiple people using the same name. Others believed it was an artificial intelligence trained on cartel data, continuing Marisol's fight from beyond. Whatever it was, it stopped suddenly, leaving only questions and fear.
US President Donald Trump on Monday said Colombia, among several other countries, had failed demonstrably in keeping to anti-drug agreements over the past year. As a result, Washington has decertified the country's anti-narcotics agency.
Far south in Colombia, Camilo Uwa, known as Eluchin, had once been a lieutenant for one of the largest drug networks in the hemisphere. After prison, he tried to rebuild his life through social media. His channel became a hit, a raw, unfiltered account of life inside the underworld. He told stories about smuggling routes, codes of loyalty, and betrayals that ended in fire. At first, he spoke cautiously, hiding names and details. But success got to him. As views rose, so did his pride. He began mocking his old rivals directly, using nicknames everyone recognized. "They can't touch me anymore," he boasted during one live session. Days later, his final video appeared, a 20-minute rant about redemption, interrupted halfway by a noise off camera. The screen shook, then went black. His followers claimed the upload continued automatically, his phone streaming to thousands as police sirens echoed faintly. To this day, the full video remains offline, its fragments spreading through whispers and bootleg copies.
Was famous, attended exclusive parties, and even had celebrity friends.
And then there was Juan Luis, known everywhere as El Pirata de Culiacan. He was just 17, a teenager turned party influencer. His videos were loud, drunk, chaotic, him dancing on cars, throwing money in bars, boasting about connections he didn't really have. In one infamous clip, he pointed to the camera, slurring his words as he taunted a powerful figure known only as El Señor. "He's nothing," he laughed. "I'm untouchable." The video hit 1 million views overnight. Within a week, Juan was gone. His death became a warning to anyone who thought fame could protect them. The internet turned him into legend, remixing his videos with sad music, quoting his final words like prophecy. His story was both cautionary tale and cultural mirror, a generation playing with fire, blinded by the light of screens. 9 stories, 9 names, scattered across borders and platforms, connected by a single thread, the illusion of invincibility. Each of them believed that their audience was a shield, that fame could rewrite the rules of power. But the old world, the one of codes, silence, and respect, still ruled in the shadows. They forgot that for some people, a joke is an insult, a word is a wound, and a post can be a declaration of war. What unites their stories isn't just tragedy, but transformation. The street no longer begins at the corner. It begins in the feed. The new gangs don't just carry guns, they carry followers. Reputation is currency, fear is marketing, and death is content. The lines that once separated the digital from the real have dissolved. Every like, every comment, every tag carries weight. The algorithm rewards chaos, the streets punish it, and somewhere in between, the truth gets lost, buried beneath hashtags, headlines, and digital ghosts that never rest. Because for every influencer who rises, another one vanishes, quietly, violently, or mysteriously erased. Their accounts frozen in time, their last words echoed endlessly in the comments. Stay fearless. But the real question is, who's watching? Who decides when a post becomes a provocation? In the end, it's not about fame or fortune. It's about a simple truth. The internet has no memory, but the streets never forget.
There's absolutely no reason to have this kind of chaos happening in our communities, putting people at risk, just exacerbating the fear that people feel right now.
After those stories faded into headlines and memory, the world did what it always does. It scrolled on. But beneath the endless updates, something deeper began to stir. A quiet awareness that the line between influencer and outlaw had dissolved completely. The digital age had birthed a new kind of criminal ecosystem, one that thrived not in alleyways or secret rooms, but in the feeds, comments, and streams of ordinary people. The ghosts of Gabriel, Ariella, Tito, and the others became symbols, not of caution, but of curiosity. Their stories were retold as cautionary tales and urban legends, whispered in live streams, dissected by podcast hosts who never showed their faces. And as the audience grew numb, a strange thing happened. The danger became desirable. What once was tragedy became a template for virality. There were channels now dedicated to reenacting their lives, accounts pretending to be them, AI-generated voices reading their last words as if resurrecting spirits. Fame after death became a new form of immortality. Young creators studied their mistakes not to avoid them, but to understand how far they could push before crossing the invisible line. They watched the rise and fall of the reckless as if it were a game, the adrenaline of proximity to darkness without paying its price. What they didn't realize was that the game was changing again. The gangs, cartels, and networks they mocked had adapted too. They were watching the same feeds, tracking the same trends, and they had learned to speak the language of the internet. Now, entire digital crews emerged, faceless avatars commanding thousands of followers. They didn't sell drugs or territory. They sold influence. They traded in leaks, secrets, and public humiliation. One viral video could destroy a reputation faster than any bullet. A single rumor could erase a career. A hacked phone could ruin a life. The wars once fought with weapons were now fought with exposure. And in that war, the influencers were both soldiers and targets. Some of them realized it too late. Others leaned into it, feeding off controversy like oxygen, understanding that outrage was the new currency. Soon, fame itself became a form of danger. The bigger you got, the closer you came to your downfall. Followers meant power, but also visibility. And visibility in this new world meant vulnerability. No one was truly safe anymore, because anonymity was the only armor, and even that could be stripped away. Entire firms emerged specializing in digital protection, offering to clean search histories, encrypt communications, and wipe traces of location metadata. Influencers who once laughed at conspiracy theories now lived like fugitives. Burner phones, fake addresses, encrypted drives. They weren't hiding from paparazzi. They were hiding from ghosts in the algorithm. The irony was cruel. The internet had promised freedom, a place where anyone could rise, speak, create, but the same tools that gave them power became weapons against them. Each upload was a breadcrumb trail, each post a piece of the puzzle. Artificial intelligence could map behavior, predict routines, reconstruct entire lives from fragments. Privacy was extinct, and fame was its grave marker. Those who once bragged about transparency now wished they could vanish, but by then, it was too late. The followers they once courted became their audience and their hunters. Governments tried to regulate it. Law enforcement agencies created cybercrime divisions, issuing reports about the rise of digital street culture. But they were always one step behind. The underworld was decentralized, its members spread across continents, linked only by encryption keys and a shared hunger for control. They didn't need guns to dominate, they had data. They could freeze accounts, leak private messages, manipulate trending pages, or drown dissenting voices under waves of disinformation. And the influencers, who once ruled the culture, were now pawns in a much larger game. A new kind of celebrity emerged from this chaos, the ghost influencer. They posted rarely, never showed their faces, but wielded enormous power. Their mystique became their shield, and their voice became their weapon. Some claimed to represent resistance movements, others claimed to be truth-tellers exposing corruption. But no one could verify who they were. The anonymity gave them credibility in a world where everyone else had become predictable. Their words carried weight because they might belong to anyone, a journalist, a hacker, an ex-soldier, or an AI program. The audience didn't care about authenticity anymore. They cared about the thrill of believing. The digital space became a stage for performance and deception, where authenticity was weaponized. Influencers began creating fake feuds, fabricating death threats, or staging near-death experiences for clout. They blurred fiction and reality so effectively that audiences couldn't tell which tragedies were real. And when real ones happened, no one knew whether to mourn or to doubt. Sympathy had been replaced by skepticism. The human cost of attention was invisible, drowned out by the rhythm of scrolling. In this environment, those who remembered the old code, respect, silence, loyalty, watched in disbelief. To them, the new generation's hunger for attention was suicidal. They knew that mocking unseen powers, whether criminal, corporate, or political, always came with consequences. But their warnings went unheard. The world had moved on from whispers in alleys to whispers in comment sections. What used to be neighborhood gossip was now global spectacle. And in that spectacle, tragedy became entertainment. The platforms thrived on it. Every scandal meant engagement. Every downfall meant revenue. Algorithms rewarded outrage, feeding users a steady diet of chaos and fear. Even death became monetized. Memorial accounts, tribute videos, conspiracy threads. The same networks that condemned violence were built on the attention it created. The irony was so thick it became invisible. The audience clicked, reacted, and moved on, never realizing they were the fuel. But somewhere within the noise, a different kind of voice began to rise. Quiet, deliberate, analytical. These were digital anthropologists, sociologists, and independent creators trying to document the new culture of danger. They interviewed former influencers who vanished, hackers who once manipulated trends, and families of victims lost to online feuds. Their documentaries painted a chilling picture, a civilization addicted to spectacle, desensitized to human cost, and governed by invisible hierarchies of power. They described the influencer economy not as entertainment, but as evolution, the merging of technology, ego, and risk into something ancient, the need to dominate, to be seen, to be feared. One of those documentarians, in a chilling monologue, said, "The influencers who died weren't victims of gangs. They were victims of belief. They believed in the illusion of safety. They thought visibility was power. They forgot that visibility is exposure." His words echoed across countless videos and forums, quoted endlessly. It became the new mantra of caution for anyone chasing digital fame. Yet, for all the warnings, new influencers still rose every day. For each one who fell, 3 more took their place. The temptation was too strong, the potential rewards too great. They didn't see themselves as reckless. They saw themselves as pioneers, warriors of a new frontier. The dark history of those who came before became folklore, not deterrent. They called themselves digital outlaws, the fearless generation, proud of their defiance, unaware that they were repeating the same fatal cycle. And so the pattern continued. A controversial post, a viral feud, a sudden disappearance. Each time, the audience reacted with the same mixture of outrage and fascination. The comment sections filled with grief and gossip, prayers and jokes, then silence. Then another scandal. The rhythm of tragedy became part of the culture, predictable as sunrise. Now, years later, looking back at those first 9 stories, it's impossible not to see them as prophecy. They weren't isolated incidents. They were early symptoms of something larger, the merging of performance and peril, the rebranding of danger as entertainment. They showed how human instinct hadn't changed. Only the stage had. The same ancient hunger for power, validation, and immortality now played out through screens. The names had changed, the weapons had evolved, but the core remained the same. The pursuit of fear disguised as fame. In the quiet moments, when the screens go dark and the notifications fade, there's a truth most refuse to face. Every post, every view, every viral moment is a trade. Attention exchanged for pieces of the soul. The internet remembers everything except the cost. The faces of those who went too far remain frozen in pixels, smiling forever, their laughter echoing through archived videos. They remind us that immortality online is not life after death, it's death that never ends. And so the cycle spins. Somewhere, right now, a young influencer presses record, unaware that their next post will be the start of their legend, or the beginning of their end. The city lights flicker, the feed refreshes, and the camera rolls on. The ghosts of the digital underworld watch in silence, waiting for the next name to join the list. Because in this world, respect isn't given, it's taken, and the algorithm never sleeps. But maybe that's the true curse of this era, not the violence itself, but how quickly we forget. Each tragedy becomes another fleeting story, another share, another view. The outrage burns bright and dies faster than a spark. The faces fade from timelines, replaced by new ones, brighter ones, hungrier ones. The same audience that once wept moves on without realizing they're part of the same cycle that consumes the people they mourn. The platforms feed it, the public demands it, and somewhere between the need to be seen and the fear of being forgotten, humanity loses another piece of itself. Every generation swears it's smarter, more aware, but every click repeats the ritual. Somewhere, another camera is turning on, another voice is whispering into the void, believing that this time, it will be different. But it never is, because fame doesn't forgive, and the internet never buries its dead. It archives them, and as long as there are eyes to watch, the show will go on, forever looping in the cold glow of the screen. The stage is infinite, the actors replaceable, and the silence after the final post, deafening.